we are again with another edition of Sports Blabb. Now, I want to say right off the bat, I've got my mask on. I'm going to take it off in just a second. But here at Sports Blabb, we do social distancing. We wear the mask. We wash hands like crazy. And I want you to do that too. This virus is nothing to mess with. All right, now that I gave my public service announcement here, I want to talk about the Viking Draft here, 2020 draft. They had the regular draft and the college free agency draft. They picked up 15 players in the regular draft, and they picked up another 12 in college free agency. So Spielman said we were very aggressive in our college free agency. And the other thing is, Spielman worked his magic with moving down and trading and getting picks or whatever. They were very patient this year and didn't do a lot of trading up to get a certain player. They got who they want when they were going to pick. For instance, that Ezra Cleveland from Boise State, a former teammate of Alexander Madison, they waited patiently for him. They got, on the defensive side, they got Wanham, defensive end out of South Carolina. And for him, they say, well, he's kind of like a Danielle Hunter type guy, 6'5", 258, edge rusher, prototype, which Zimmer likes. So let's talk about kind of the breakdown here. Did they go for one position or another? Well, we all know that the big needs for the Vikings were offensive line and defensive back help, right? Those are the big ones. And wide receiver, because they traded away Stephon Diggs. So let's see how they did. On the offense, we're talking only regular draft right here. On the offensive side, they got 3 cornerbacks, 2 safeties, 2 defensive ends, 1 defensive tackle, and just 1 linebacker. On the offensive side, they got 2 wide receivers, 3 offensive linemen, and 1 quarterback, which is interesting. But you can never have too many good quarterbacks, right? And he's from Iowa, right? So it can't be all bad, right? Iowa's a great program. Anyways, so that's something I'm impressed with. Now let's go to the college free agent draft and see how they did for, did they spread the salt around in that one? Well, on the defensive side of the ball, they got 1 cornerback, 1 safety, 2 linebackers, and 1 defensive tackle. On the offensive side, they got 1 tackle, 1 guard, 1 center, 1 tight end, 1 fullback, and 2 wide receivers. So how did they do in terms of the wide receiver, defensive back, offensive lineman? Well, they definitely went after those guys and filled the holes, but true to Zimmer's mentality, the defensive coach that he is, they went after some defensive ends and defensive tackles, and got Lynch out of Baylor, and they were just patient, and that's what I'm impressed with the most. The other thing on the offensive side of the ball, I like the big lineman. I hate it when they get a guy who's 6'2", 260. No, the Vikings went big. Ezra Cleveland is like 6'6", 311. He's a monster kind of a thing. So who can argue with that? Let's see. We got cornerbacks, defensive tackle, offensive line. Oh, yeah. Brandel of Oregon State's another big boy, 6'7", like 307. So, yeah, they're going for the big guys that are going to protect Kirk Cousins. And they're hoping that Cleveland can step right in. Maybe they move, like I said before, Brian O'Neill over to the left tackle, put Cleveland over to the right side. They give Kirk Cousins more blindside protection because he's not a big scrambler kind of quarterback. He's more of a pocket guy like a Brady or a Breeze or whatever. So he needs that time back there. And again, on the college free agent draft that the Vikings did, they also got big boys. Brady Aiello of Oregon. So the Vikings like those big offensive guys from Oregon State, Boise State, something in the air in the Northwest. My relatives live up there in Seattle. It must be the mountain air. Maybe it's not that far from the ocean. I don't know what it is, but they must have sent the scouts like crazy up into the Northwest and said, find me some big boys to protect Kirk Cousins, and they've got them in this draft. Cornerback. Let's talk about cornerback. Zimmer likes mean, nasty, high work ethic, put your nose to the grindstone type players, especially when it comes to the defensive backfield. Well, he got then a Gadney, who's TCU. He came from a coach who's, in your face type of thing. Martellus of Michigan and Clark of Central Florida, who's from the college draft. Both those guys, when you read about them, say, I come from programs where it's a work ethic. I just outwork everybody. I'm coming here, and nobody's going to outwork me. Nobody. And they're nasty. They're on the field, they're just nasty. And that's what Zimmer likes. High work ethic, listen to the coaches, learn, and be nasty on that field. So, I don't know what to say, man. I'm just tickled pink. I mean, it's hard to fill a hole left by Stephon Diggs, but let's count the wide receivers. 4 wide receivers just drafted alone between the 2 drafts. Plus, you've got the free agent that we signed, and you've got Johnson from last year, and you got BB if he gets healthy. So we're looking good, and we went after, the big boys on the offensive line, big, tough, mean, nasty guys that hopefully can step right in on the defensive line, which is another hole we had to fill. How many defensive guys did we get? We got 2, 3, 4. So they went after those guys too. So kudos to Spielman, kudos to Zimmerman. They got players in the mold of the way Zimmerman likes them, kind of tough, nasty, in your face. They were patient in the draft. They got a lot of capital, and the Vikings kind of use if enough mud sticks on the wall, if you throw enough mud on the wall, something's got to stick. So they've got, what do we got here? 12 and 15, 27 picks between the 2 drafts. And as you know, and I've mentioned before, just because they're not in the first round doesn't mean they're not going to work out. Look at Adam Thielen. Look at Danielle Hunter. Look at Tom Brady. Look at Joe Montana. History is littered. And Spielman knows that, and he was just smart and masterful in doing this. Again, kudos to the Vikings. And again, I ask you, as a public service announcement, wear your mask, wash your hands, social distancing, even with the weather getting super nice. You got to keep up the fight. So just keep it up. Otherwise, things go to hell in a handbasket, and we just don't want that. Over and out. Sports Blab, over and out.